Sports Snippets, Dennis Sullivan on a Saturday the 21st of November. How in the world are you doing? Here to discuss the Miami Heat's 2020 first round draft pick, Mr. Precious Achiuwa, who was picked number 20 or the 20th pick in the NBA's first round of the draft just a few short days ago. If you do like the content of this particular video, go ahead and hit that like button. You can also go ahead and subscribe as well if you'd like to my channel, Sports Snippets with Dennis Sullivan. You can find me also on various platforms on my podcast, Sports Snippets with Dennis Sullivan as well. So, a comment came in a few days ago asking me to discuss this topic about the Miami Heat's first round draft selection, and I'm here to do that for you guys. And as I just spent some time as a regular fan watching a few cable networks and just following up on the NBA draft itself, I heard some interesting comments along the way regarding what the Miami Heat possibly should have done and what the Miami Heat should do. This was just prior to the draft, so that conversation of what the Miami Heat should perhaps do. And it was kind of surprising, and I'm going to get into that right now. So the Heat select, as mentioned, Precious Achiuwa as the 20th pick in the NBA first round of the NBA draft 2020. A 6'9" power forward, listed as a power forward, who in my opinion fits in perfectly for what not only the Heat are trying to do, but also what the Heat are trying to, not just in style trying to do, but what the Heat are trying to do as far as perhaps filling a gap or a weakness, which clearly was depth at the big man positions last year, depth underneath last year. I mean, we did make some late season acquisitions to help the matter. You did pick up a Crowder who certainly helped Miami Heat last year. You picked up an Iguodala off the bench who did in fact help the cause, no question about that. But in the 6'9" Achiuwa, you get a lot, guys. You get a lot. And two words that jump out right off the bat that I keep hearing are athletic, or athleticism, right? Or athletic ability, and underrated. I'm hearing this more and more as more of an underrated player, more of an underrated pick. Now, he was the second player that was selected in the first round from Memphis. So University of Memphis also had James Wiseman, the center, who went number 2 overall in the NBA draft. So that was pretty interesting. Some things that, and in listening to Pat Riley, who had a lot to say, a lot of great things to say, and I agree with Pat Riley 100% with what he is, not only so much predicting, but what he is feeling regarding this player joining the Heat. I really like it. Not only like what I'm hearing, but I do agree with him. He likes the upside, of course. He does say he's a quick and athletic player that plays above the rim. He mentioned a few times about how Achiuwa can get out and run, and that's, you see more and more of that now, guys, in the NBA, are the big guys that can also run. They can run the floor. Sure, you still see that big 6'9", 6'10", 6'11", that big guy down low who's just like this lumbering big player. But you tend to see a little less of that in 2020, 2019, the last few years. It's more, they have to be able to do a little bit of both, the quick side of things and the forceful, physical side of things. And it seems like Achiuwa can fit both those requirements. Fits in with how they want to play. He would say, according to Pat Riley, he can play Precious Achiuwa 4 positions on defense. So apparently he can guard 4 positions on defense. That's awesome. I did a little research as well into, now as you may not be aware, Achiuwa only played one season at Memphis, and of course that was last year. He was the only freshman to average a double-double in Division 1A last season. His last 3 college games in terms of rebounding were giant. He had 3 huge rebounding games. His last 3 collegiate games at 22, 16, and 15 rebounds. How's that? I mean, he went out in style there. He's averaging something like crazy amount of rebounds. He's averaging like over 17 rebounds a game in his last 3, right? So we got 31, 41, 53. So he's averaging, he's averaging over 17 rebounds a game over his last 3 games at Memphis. So that's really impressive. Now going back to what I heard with the media prior to the draft and even a little bit after the draft, which I definitely am not seeing and definitely disagree with, is the thought process prior to the draft was that the Heat would be looking more in terms of a guard or a point guard because of the fact that Goran Dragic is... Now, let's dissect this. Okay, let's first talk about Goran Dragic, because that's a separate topic on its own, the way I see this. So the general consensus, right, the general thought process was about Dragic is getting old, which he is for an NBA player. He's now 34. I mean, for a point guard, or really for any position, once you hit about 33, 34, you're considered old by NBA standards, right? And there's no secret that Dragic suffered some injuries over the past few years, most notably in the postseason last year as we went into the NBA Finals. So here it is, guys. You got to look at the whole picture, though. We got to look at the whole picture. Dragic, now they're talking about the free agency. Dragic plans on coming back to the Heat. I think it's great that Dragic's coming back to the Heat. I think that's wonderful. Okay, can we count on him being healthy all the time? No, not really. Not based on what we've seen, right? But here's the key point. The Heat are, in my humble opinion, the Heat are loaded with guards. Now, are they loaded specifically with point guards? I'd have to say probably not. But I mean, guys, you got the key question you want to ask yourself is, do you believe in a Kendrick Nunn at point guard? Because I do. Kendrick Nunn, who's only going into his 2nd season, had a tremendous rookie season, clearly overlooked by the media, from what I'm seeing here. He's being clearly overlooked. Kendrick Nunn lost playing time in the postseason last year, not because he wasn't playing well. He lost time because of Dragic. Goran Dragic was playing very well. Coach Spoelstra went with the experience, went with Goran Dragic. I don't argue that at all. But to say that the Heat should have went out and drafted a point guard with their first pick in the draft, to me, does not make that much sense. You got plenty of perimeter players, not to mention you got Tyler Hero, you have Jimmy Butler, just mentioned, Kendrick Nunn, you have other guys like Duncan Robinson, okay, that can certainly stretch the floor. And I know going back, you can say, yeah, well, point guard's different than shooting guard. Point well taken. But if there's one thing the Heat have plenty of depth at, it's at the guard position. Perhaps as much depth as anyone in the NBA. So this was a need. They needed a big guy. Now I'm hearing some, I don't want everyone to get carried away though, because I'm hearing some Bam comparisons. I think we might be moving a little too fast here, maybe jumping ahead a little too quickly here. I'm not going to go that far. Because that's a big statement to say this might be another Bam. Bam Adebayo is one of the better forwards in the NBA. He was a All-Star, deservedly so, last season. Okay, that's an NBA All-Star forward we're talking about that really carried the Heat underneath last season. If it wasn't for Bam, Heat aren't even coming close to the NBA Finals last year. I know Jimmy Butler was the main focal point, deservedly so, but Bam was clearly their number 2 option, and it will be the same way this season. So, Heat fans, this was a good one. Pat Riley's very excited. He should be. If you want to check out a good video, also there is a video from a few days ago. It was a virtual type press conference with Pat Riley talking about Achiuwa, and he's discussing a lot of the things that Precious will bring to the team and will bring to the Heat for the 2020-2021 season. And it looks to be real interesting, guys. Looks to be real exciting. So for now, this is Dennis Sullivan saying, I'll see you real soon, guys. It was great having you watch this video. Keep those suggestions coming in the comments section. And don't forget to go ahead and like and subscribe if you haven't done so. If you did enjoy the content of this content, which I hope that you did. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.